recording this now. Thank you for reminding Awais. Good job. So we have 11 boys. Yeah, finish the video. No, Wes, you have to wait with me. You have to work with me. There are some activities, some questions which you have to answer. It's a 12-minute video. And as you can see, there are these blue circles. These are indicating that there are some activities on these points. No, Wes, it's a 12-minute clip. It's not a 2-minute clip. Maybe the first question that comes is after 2 minutes. All right, so we've got 30 people. Let's start. You guys can watch the video, and at this point, you'll have to wait for me. I'm going to make sure that the sound is on. So let's start. Bismillah.
This is yarrow, a flowering plant found all over the northern hemisphere. Its feathery leaves have natural astringent properties, and its scientific name, Achillea, comes from Achilles, the Greek hero, who's said to have used it on the wounds of his soldiers. And this is snake grass, otherwise known as horsetail, or to the kids, pop grass, because you can just pop it apart and then put it back together again, although on top there it's dead now. And this is a ponderosa pine, one of my favorite trees. It can grow hundreds of feet tall, and on a warm day, if you sniff it, it smells like butterscotch. They all have different shapes, sizes, and properties, but each of these things is a vascular plant, one of the most diverse and, dare I say, important families in the tree of life. Since their predecessors first arrived on the scene some 420 million years ago, vascular plants have found tremendous success through their ability to exploit resources all around them. They convert sunshine into food, they absorb nutrients directly through the soil without the costly process of digestion, and they even enlist the help of some friends when it comes to reproduction. So often, when they're doing their thing, it involves a third party, which, like, you know, good for them. But these things alone can't explain vascular plants' extraordinary evolutionary success. I mean, algae was photosynthesizing long before plants made it fashionable. And as we learned last week, non-vascular plants have reproductive strategies that are tricked out 6 ways from Sunday. So, like, what gives? The secret to vascular plant success is their defining trait: conductive tissues that can take food and water from one part of a plant to another part of a plant. This may sound simple enough, but the ability to move stuff from one part of an organism to another was a huge evolutionary breakthrough for vascular plants. It allowed them to grow exponentially larger, store food for lean times, and develop some fancy features that allowed them to spread farther and faster. It was one of the biggest revolutions in the history of life on Earth. The result? Plants dominated Earth long before animals even showed up, and even today, they hold most of the world records. The largest organism in the world is a redwood in Northern California, 115 meters tall, bigger than 3 blue whales laid end to end. The most massive organism is a grove of quaking aspen in Utah, all connected by the roots, weighing a total of 13 million pounds. And the oldest living thing, a patch of seagrass in the Mediterranean dating back 200,000 years. We spent a lot of time congratulating ourselves on how awesomely magnificent and complex the human animal is, but you guys, I gotta hand it to you.
All right, we're going to start the activity. We'll pause the screen. All right, so what do you already know about the structure of the vascular plants? Anything that is you can think of, you can write it over here. And this is not a graded quiz. The graded quizzes are going to be on your canvas. All right, they'll be having 2 quizzes each week. So this is just for the practice, for the sake of learning. So whatever that comes to your mind, you can write about it. Then what do you already know about the structure of the vascular plants? So we'll see what we know before watching the video, and then we'll compare it what we have learned after watching the video. So we have 25% people answering, 16 people have logged in. Out of 21 people, we have 16 boys in the class. So remember, if you're unable to log into Nearpod, you might be considered absent. So make sure you guys are on Nearpod as well. Basim, you have the mic.
Mister, what is vascular? I don't know what it means.
So vascular comes like with something like a vein, It has tube system. It has ability to deliver something in, in a tube. Like we have veins, we have vascular system as well, but we don't call it vascular, but something with made up of veins. And
Okay.
so this is something, if you don't know, you can simply write that I don't know the meaning of vascular, but we are just talking about vascular plants. They are the plants which show you uh, long, strong tubes of veins in their leaves, right? We have 50% people coming in. Yes, they are. This is good answer. They are strong. Yes. And Abdulaziz, you don't have to understand it. I'm just checking your previous knowledge. That what if you know something about the vascular plants? You might have learned in grade 5 and 6 and 7. Okay, they are also known as tracheophytes. Okay, good answer, Mansoor. We'll look into this. Where it says they have root, stem, and leaves, this is with all the plants. Hamza, they are thin and you can break them easily and they do photosynthesis and they're really important for living. Okay, so that is also true for some of the plants and it's going to be acceptable. Yusuf says the vegetative structures of vascular plants include two major organ systems, a shoot system composed of stems and leaves, and a root system. You are right, Yusuf, and all plants usually have this. Jumjum says it grows to be huge and tall. Perfect. Number has done any answer. Ghazi says there's transpiration from the root to the leaf. Good. And they are big and green. All right. So we have about 60, 70% people answering this. They transport water and nutrients from the roots. Good, good. Let's see. Hamza hasn't said anything. Salman, no answer. Muhammad Al Harbi, no answer. Badr, no answer. Jawad, no answer. Amr, no answer. So, whatever you know, we'll move on in a minute to the next part of this video. Yes, Hamza. Do you want the mic or do you want to talk? All right, mic. So raise your hand so I can give you the mic. Hamza, okay. Yes, Hamza.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Mister, I answered it, but here it says no answer.
Okay, so tell me your answer under this chat and I will read it out for everybody.
My answer, wait, let me just put edit answer. A plant has two organ system, the shoot system and the root system.
Okay, good. All right, that's fine. And let's go to Moaz. Yes, Moaz, you have the mic. Moaz, you have the mic.
Hello, Mister.
Yes, hello.
Mister, what pages do I study? I want to revise.
The pages number, if you go to the canvas, let me show you the canvas. Here are the pages number given to you in the resource reference. Can you see this?
I can't see anything.
Okay, let me resume this. Now you can see this.
Yes, right now.
Yes.
Courses.
If you go to every module, every week, every lesson, you will find the pages numbers are mentioned over here.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So let's go back to the pod and let's resume. Okay.
Do you? So you know by now, the more specialized tissues an organism has, the more complex they are and the better they typically do. But you also know that these changes don't take place overnight. The tissues that define vascular plants didn't evolve all at once, but today we recognize 3 types that make these plants what they are. Dermal tissues make up their outermost layers and help prevent damage and water loss. Vascular tissues do all of that conducting of materials I just mentioned. And the most abundant tissue type, ground tissues, carry out some of the most important functions of plant life, including photosynthesis and the storage of leftover food. Now, some plants never go beyond these basics. They sprout from a germinated seed, develop these tissues, and then stop. This is called primary growth, and plants that are limited to this stage are herbaceous. As the name says, they are like herbs, small, soft, and flexible, and typically they die down to the root or die completely after one growing season. Pretty much everything you see growing in a backyard garden, herbs and flowers and broccoli and that kind of stuff, those are herbaceous. But a lot of vascular plants go on to secondary growth, which allows them to grow not just taller, but wider. This is made possible by the development of additional tissues, particularly woody tissues. These are your woody plants, which include shrubs and bark-covered vines called lianas, and of course,
Okay, so we have chat before we start the activity. You can understand he talks very, very fast. Okay, so this link is also available. You guys can replay it and rewatch it again. So let me just pause this for a minute. Yes, the link is there. And okay, for you, Abdullah is coming in. Yes, the pod with the code U4YTQ. And all right, so which type of plant tissue is considered conductive tissue? Is it a dermal tissue? No, dermal, let me explain it to you. The dermal is like a skin. So skin is not going to be the dermal tissue, is not the right option. A is not okay. B, ground tissue. Ground tissues is the one where they are doing the storage. All right. Third option is herbaceous tissue. That creates the herbs. The herbs and the shrubs have it. And then we have the vascular tissue. That's the reason. Mohammed Al Hasbi, okay, I'll send the link to you as well. I'm going to send the link to everyone in meeting again. Masim is raising a hand. Yes, Masim.
Yes, mister. I pressed A by accident.
No problem. Change it to the right option. Can you change it?
No, I can't.
Okay, it's all right because we are not grading this, so it's okay.
Okay.
Right, this is for your own learning so that you know what you're doing. Okay, so let's check the results. We have 50% no answer. So where are the guys? 38%, 50% people have answered it right. And let's wait for another minute and then we will continue. So let me share the solution with you guys. The right answer is vascular tissue. Okay, let's start. The guy is famous for talking fast because he helps students to do the crash course. This is like a crash course, and the crash course are usually done in a fast manner. Yes, OS.
Mister, it's laggy on your screen, so I'm watching it on my iPad, another iPad.
Okay.
And the last video, because you started it before me, I didn't finish.
All right, so let's start it now. All right. Can
Okay.
you watch it with us now?
Okay.
Okay, good. Abdullah, yes.
Yeah, I got it right, but that's not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was wait, damn it, I forgot. Wait, don't mute me just yet. Yeah. Okay, no, I forgot. Sorry.
All right, take your time and join us. We'll start in a minute. And Ghazi isn't here. Yes, Yusuf.
Mister, my video started from the beginning, from like 0 seconds until you guys finished the video before me. That's why I couldn't answer the thing.
Okay. No, when it comes to the activity, the video stops. The video hasn't finished completely.
Yeah, Mine started from the beginning.
Okay.
It didn't start from the second part.
All right. So, all right. So if you missed out, this is not a graded quiz, so don't worry about it. Yes, and Ghazi, you have the mic.
Mister, you just said Ghazi is not with us. I'm with you.
I didn't see you, so I thought you maybe you were absent.
No, Mister, I'm with you.
Okay, Wes says you don't start the video. Okay, I'll start the video now. So boys, hold on to your questions. Let's do this activity.
Your trees. But no matter how big they may or may not grow, all vascular plants are organized into three main organs, all of which you are intimately familiar with, not just because you knew what they were when you were in second grade, but also because you probably eat them every day. First, the root. It absorbs water and nutrients and serves as a pantry of leftover food, and of course keeps the plant anchored in the ground. Next, the stem. It contains structures that transport fluids and store nutrients, and also is home to specialized cells called meristems that are responsible for creating new growth. But their most important task is to support the last organ, the leaf. This, of course, is where the plant exchanges gases with the atmosphere and collects sunlight to manufacture food, with the help of water and minerals collected through the root and sent up through the stem. Now, each of these organs contains all three tissues, which together work to absorb, conduct, and exploit one of the world's most important molecules: water. So since plants are pretty much designed around water, let's follow some H2O to see how plants make the most of it. First, as with most organisms, nothing can get in or out of a plant without getting past the skin. In this case, the dermal tissue. In smaller, non-woody plants, most of this is just a thin layer of cells called, fittingly, the epidermis. Naturally, this is great for keeping the outside out and the inside in, but the epidermis can also sport some snazzy features in different parts of the plant. In leaves and stems, for example, it often has a waxy outer layer called a cuticle that helps prevent water loss. On some leaves, or on pods that hold those valuable seeds, the epidermis can sprout hair-like structures called trichomes that help keep insects at bay and secrete toxic or sticky fluids. The same secretions that make the yarrow useful for first aid, for instance, are also what discourage ants from using it for lunch. Finally, in the roots, the epidermis has similar features called root hairs that maximize the root surface area for absorption, just like we've seen in our own organ systems. This, of course, is where the plants generally absorb the water they need.
All right, let's see the question. The question is, which of the following statements best describes the function of the dermal tissue? Remember I told you the dermal tissue is related with the outermost skin of the plant, so the first one, to conduct photosynthesis and storage, food storage. Second is to protect plants from injury and water loss. Number three, to aid in cell division and reproduction. That doesn't make any sense. D, to accelerate growth and transpiration. No sense. So C and D, lose these options. Think about between first and second. You might be knowing that for photosynthesis we have a leaf to do the job, and food storage. Food storage can be done in a root, in a stem, in a fruit. So half of it option is right and half of it is wrong. So option A is not applicable. So you know the right answer now. So we have how many boys answered it? We have got how many people? 31% people didn't answer. That's sad. 42% people have answered it right. Good. So do not choose option C, do not choose option D. Choose between A and B. What do you guys think? The outermost layer is to protect the plants from the injury. There are, like he showed you, some hair-like growth coming out. They protect the plant from the different living things like ants. Ants can easily cut open the outermost layer and start, seeping out the sugary material, the glucose. So that's why it protects it. And then it also protects them from the water loss. What is the inner layer called? The inner layer of what? So let's share the right answer. The right answer is option B, to protect the plants from the injury and water loss. This is what the dermal layer is doing. The best function of the dermal tissue is to protect the plants from injury and the water loss. So let's continue the video.
Need. By the way, the cells that make up this dermal tissue are the most basic essential building blocks of vascular plants, called parenchyma, or visceral flesh cells. These are the most abundant plant cells, found not just in roots but also in stems, leaves, and flowers. They're thin and flexible and can perform all kinds of functions depending on their location. Now, after passing through the skin of the root and through its starchy cortex or outer layer, water arrives in the first of two kinds of vascular tissue: the xylem. The xylem's main function is to carry water and dissolved minerals from the root up to the leaves. But like, how? How, by Zeus's beard, can plants make water defy gravity? Well, a lot of the reason is that up top, the plant is continuously evaporating water through a process called evapotranspiration. As water evaporates from the leaves, which I'll explain in greater detail when we get up there, it creates negative pressure inside the xylem, which draws more water upward. Plants can transpire truly staggering amounts of water, and it's because of this that our atmosphere is habitable. A single acre of corn gives off about 3,000 gallons of water every day. A large oak tree, just one tree, can transpire 40,000 gallons in a year. Only 1% of the water that plants absorb is actually used by plants, mostly in photosynthesis. The rest is slowly and invisibly released, providing one of Earth's most crucial functions: transporting water from the soil into the atmosphere, where it then returns to the surface as rain, making all life possible.
All right, so he mentioned about the xylem. The xylem is the tube which is responsible to carry the water from the roots to the leaves. And how is it done? It's because of the transpiration, the evapotranspiration, which is evaporating on the leaf, and they create the stress onto the roots, all through the parenchyma cells. So the parenchyma cells are the vascular cells. So let's start the activity. What is the relationship between evapotranspiration and the movement of water up the xylem? So what is the relationship? The evapotranspiration is the loss of water from the leaves. The water is absolutely constantly getting evaporated from the leaves because of the photosynthesis as well, and because of the heat around it. So the sun, which is shining on top of it, is evaporating the water molecules from the leaf, and that creates a pull up. It creates a vacuum for the water, and it goes the stress down the stem to the roots, and that's how the roots can actually start absorbing more water. So it's actually the plant is losing about 80% of the water through the evapotranspiration, which is a big loss, but it is evil necessary. We say it is evil necessary because it is a loss for the plant, but it is necessary because without it, the plant will not be able to absorb any water. So this is the relationship between the evapotranspiration and the movement of water up the xylem. Plus, there is capillary action tube as well. So we have one person, Wes, who has answered it. Yes, you are right, Wes. Instead of negative degree, we call it negative effect, or negative pull. You can say a pull. So even a negative degree is acceptable. So the water evaporates and makes it a negative degree, so water is being pulled in the xylem through the roots. So it's an excellent answer. Good job. Anybody else who would like to answer? There is another answer, which is from Ghazi. Water is bringing, evaporating the water, then make the water going into the roots less from the plant. Water is okay. Make the water going to the root less friendly. I'm unable to understand. Ghazi, can you rechange your answer? Can you edit it? Can you explain it a little bit more? And we have one more answer. My keyboard is small, I can't type. Wow. So Basim, let me give you the mic. You can explain the answer. Mansoor has a question. Yes, Mansoor.
Mister, the question means what does it do?
Yes. What has the
Oh,
evapotranspiration has an effect on the water in the roots through the xylem?
so it means what does it do with the water?
Yes. What happens and why it happens and how come the water goes up?
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay.
Basim, you have the mic.
Yes, Mr. Look, my keyboard, what I was trying to say is my keyboard somehow got small, and then
If you want to
no, I can't
explain,
type for much.
if you want to explain on the mic, you can do that. Do you want to explain
Okay,
the
if I
question?
fix it, I'm gonna answer.
All right, good job. Good job.
But I know the answer. Can I say it?
Yes, you can also say it here.
Okay. Evapotranspiration is like photosynthesis when water evaporates, and then the movement of water up the xylem.
Yes, good.
Mister, can you remind me what is the xylem? Is it the stem?
It's a tube. It's a tube which takes up the water from the roots to the leaf.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the xylem transports water to the leaves and nutrients. Water and nutrients to the leaves.
Good job. Good job, Basim. Okay, so there's one student who says, I have no idea. Let me explain it for him. Look, you imagine that there's a chain, there's a rope. If you start pulling up rope from one side, you're gonna eventually create a stress, you're gonna create a tension on the other end. And if that the other end there's a rock or is there some object tied to it, you might start pulling it towards yourself, right? So similarly, the pulling is happening on the leaf. The leaves are evaporating the water molecules, which creates the stress down the stem to the roots. And then the roots are able to create and suck the water into the plant. So if we are unable to pull that rope, we will not be able to absorb the water from the roots. So you are pulling it out from the leaves. So it's just like that. You are pulling the chain from the leaf. It creates a stress down to the roots. And what does it absorb? It absorbs the water. And this water is passing through the xylem tube. There's a special tube for only water, which is called xylem. So I hope that is clear to the most of the boys. I'll know what everybody's had, and I'll check if anybody has answered any more. No, no answers. Okay. Yes, Abdullah agrees. Okay, so Ghazi, if you have understood, I agree with that. Let's move on. We have little time left, so let's finish this off.
Yeah, chew on that as we continue up the xylem, and as we get higher in the plant, we begin to encounter a greater diversity of cells, designed not only for moving stuff around, but also for providing structural support. For instance, elongated cells with thicker cell walls called parenchyma help hold up the plant body, especially in herbaceous plants and young structures like new shoots. Celery is mostly made up of these cells, so you already know what they taste like. In larger woody plants, you also find sclerenchyma cells, especially in the xylem. These have even thicker cell walls made from lignin. a super strong polymer that makes wood woody. What's weird about sclerenchyma cells, though, is that most of them, when they reach maturity, they die. They just leave behind their hearty cell walls as a support structure, and new cells from a fresh layer during the next growing season push the old, dead layer outward. In warm, wet years, these layers grow thick, while in cold, dry years, they're light and thin. These woody remains form tree rings, which scientists can use not only to track the age of a tree, but also the history of the climate that it lives.
So, but also the history of the climate that there was at that time. So sclerenchyma cells provide support too. This is what he was mentioned about the celery. It's a kind of a, oh, we missed the, I didn't turn on the screen. Okay, that's my bad. So the sclerenchyma cells are usually for which type of plants? So is it going to be for smaller herbaceous plants or is it going to be for larger woody plants? So choose between A and B. C and D is the wrong option. Choose between A and B. So up till now, 21% people have answered and they're all right. Yes, Ozzy. You can leave a text message or you want to go for the option. So we have about 50% people have answered it. So let's move on. We have very little time. Do not choose option C and D. Choose between A and B. So let's continue. We have got most of the people right. It is the right answer is larger woody plants. Sclerenchyma cells support them to grow larger.
It lived in. Now, at the top of the xylem, water arrives at its final destination, the leaf. Here, water travels through an increasingly minuscule network of vein-like structures until it's dumped into a new kind of tissue called the mesophyll. As you can tell from its name, meso meaning middle and phyll meaning leaf, this layer sits between the top and the bottom epidermis of the leaf, forming the bacon in the BLT that is the leaf structure. This, my friends, marks our entry into the ground tissue. I'm sure you're as excited about that as I am. Despite its name, ground tissue isn't just in the ground, and it's actually just defined as any tissue that's either not dermal or vascular. Regardless of this low billing, though, it's where the money is, and by money, I mean food. Now, the mesophyll is chock full of parenchyma cells of various shapes and sizes, and many of them arranged loosely to let CO2 and other materials flow between them. These cells contain the photosynthetic organelles, chloroplasts, which, as you know, host the process of photosynthesis. But where is this CO2 coming from? Well, some of the neatest features on the leaf are these tiny openings in the epidermis called stomata. Around each stoma are two guard cells connected at both ends that regulate its size and shape. When conditions are dry, the guard cells are limp, they stick together, closing the stoma. But when the leaf is flush with water, the guard cells plump up and bow out from each other, opening the stoma to allow water to evaporate and let carbon dioxide in. This is what allows evapotranspiration to take place, as well as photosynthesis. And you remember photosynthesis through a series of brain-rackingly complicated reactions sparked by the energy from the sun. The CO2 combines with hydrogen from the water to create glucose. The leftover oxygen is released through the stomata, and the glucose is ready.
And the glucose is ready for the plant and other living organisms. When a leaf is flush with water, guard cells it should be flush. Okay, guard cells swell and open the dash, allowing water vapor to go out and carbon dioxide to get in. What does it open? Does it open chloroplast? No. Does it open mesophyll? No. Does it open parenchyma? Maybe. Does it open stoma? Maybe. So choose between C and D. And most of the boys have chosen it right. We are talking about, yes, Abdullah. You are right. Yes, Ghazi. Yes, what? Okay, good. Yes, Ghazi can see the video. So choose between D and C. We are talking about what opens up so that the gases can go in and out and water vapor can go out. Oxygen can go out and carbon dioxide can go in. Through what? Not the still making mistakes, and boys. All right, good job. So we have 36% people answering it right and 42% people not answering at all. And those who just woke up, please do not choose option A and B. Choose between C and D. There are 10% people who have answered A. So the option, the right answer, let me share the right answer with you. It's stoma. It is stoma. The stomata, they usually open up when the water is enough in the plant. So let's see the second part, and then we have one last question.
For shipping. Now, if you've been paying attention, you noticed that earlier I said that there are two kinds of vascular tissue, and here the circle is made complete as the sugar exits the leaf through the phloem. The phloem is mostly made of cells stacked in tubes with perforated plates at either end. After the glucose is loaded into these cells, called sieve cells or sieve tube elements, they then absorb water from the nearby xylem to form a rich, sugary sap to transport the sugar. This sweet sap, by the way, is what gives the ponderosa its delicious smell. By way of internal pressure and diffusion, the sap travels wherever it's needed to parts of the plant experiencing growth during the growing season, or down to the root if it's dormant, like during winter, where it's stored until spring. So now that you understand everything that it takes for vascular plants to succeed, I hope you see why plants equals winning. And I'm not just talking about them sweeping the contest for biggest, heaviest, oldest living things, though again, congrats on that, guys. Plants are not only responsible for making rain happen, they're also the first and most important link in our food chain. That's why the world's most plant-rich habitats like rainforests and grasslands are so crucial to our survival. When those habitats change, everything changes: weather, food supply, even the incidence of natural disasters. So I, for one, welcome our plant overlords because they've done a great job so far making life on Earth possible. But I know you're curious, how do different kinds of plants make more plants? That's all about the birds and the bees, which is what we'll be talking about next.
The next video. So what is something you are still confused about? I'll keep this private. I will not take anybody's name, so whatever you guys write will stay between you and me. Anything that you are not clear about, you write it down over here, so in the next lesson I can explain it to you. I'll make notes and then we'll have a small session on it before we go to the next topic. What are you guys still confused about? Okay, we have one point, which is the kind of tissues and their properties. Okay, we'll have a presentation on this. Or I could do a little kind of assignment for someone who would like to do that presentation. There are four kinds of tissues and what kind of jobs they do. So you just put the pictures, put their names, and put what they do. We have sclerenchyma cells, we have parenchyma cells, and all these different types of tissues. What do they do? Okay, so you have to watch this again. There's a student who's saying after the xylem question, I didn't understand anything. Try to watch this again. If you go to the canvas, let me show you the canvas. This is the near part, the first link that you can see about the vascular plants. If you click onto this, you will be able to watch this video again and try to solve the questions. So let's check who else has, okay, there are more questions. Those who, okay, mashallah, they are excellent. And Yes, Ghazi, he speaks pretty fast. I agree with you. And mashallah, there's another student who's saying I'm fine. And okay, mashallah, excellent. So those who are not answering at all, they might be considered as absent. So I think that that's it. The time is up. Oh, sorry, I took 5 minutes above. It's 12:10. Salman says he can't see the question. Because I have chosen, let me show you. This is the question. Can you see the question now? So let me stop recording.